In the sample workbook that comes with this particular chapter in Module 3, we have a sample sub-procedure that is going to allow us to experiment with a number of the built-in VBA text functions. You can see there we have a subroutine called text options. It places the string "the dog was singing" into my.txt, and the message box outputs my.txt. So if we were to call that procedure, we get "the dog was singing." Now with text strings, we can run a number of functions to return different amounts of information or different parts of that string. We can get the length of the actual string by using the len function. So then text options will output 19. So there are 19 characters in "the dog was singing." I can use a left function to return so many characters from the left, so the first 3 for example, which will give me the. I can use a right function. And I could use right 3 to give me the last 3 in the string, which is ing. Or if I want characters out of the middle, I can use the mid function. So mid.txt. This time I need to tell it where to start, so that's the 3rd character, and then for how long. Let's go for 7. Notice that the how long is optional. Without a value there, it would just return the rest of the string. Edogwa. Any of these values here can be replaced with variables that you've perhaps calculated elsewhere, or even with other functions, because I could even use the len function instead of that number. So actually just carry on for len of my.txt minus 6. So 6 characters less than the whole length anyway. And we get "e-dog was sin." So there's quite a lot of flexibility there in manipulating your strings using left, right, len to figure out how long it is. We can even manipulate the case of a string. Let's take away all the extra gubbins there and replace mid with L case. The logic there says that that will all come out in lowercase, as it does. U case all comes out in uppercase. There are a couple of very useful trim functions for taking empty spaces away. If, for example, "my dog was singing" had a lot of spaces before the, as that runs at the moment, you can see the spaces are making the dialog box stretch out. So instead of L case, let's use L trim for trim the left-hand side of trailing spaces, and they're all gone. And the reverse of that is R trim for trimming spaces off the right-hand side. Let's take those spaces out. We can even replace text in a string using the replace function. So it's replaced my.txt, and then within there, obviously we need to tell it what to replace and what with. So we're going to replace within the my.txt string the text "dog" with the text "cat." Those are all the compulsory options. There are then some optional parameters as start as, so which character to start looking at, how many times to look. So if, for example, it was a long string and you wanted to replace every occurrence of "dog", then the default there is -1 to replace them all, but you might want to replace the first occurrence. And then there's a compare method to decide whether it's case sensitive or not. By default, it is. So this is actually looking for "dog" with a capital D. Let's replace that. And we get "the cat was singing." Obviously much better than the dog. So there's a lot of text manipulation functions within the VBA that we can use to manipulate our text strings and therefore make use of them in our little programs.